Welcome to Communication, Connection, Community, the Podcaster's Podcast. This podcast takes a deep dive into modern-day communication strategies in the podcasting space. We chat with interesting people who make the podcasting and speaking spaces exciting and vibrant. We also dive into the podcasting community with news, updates, latest trends and topics from this ever-evolving space. So strap in. It's going to be one amazing ride. Let's dive into today's episode. And my guest today is Lucie Ptasznik. Lucie is a national speaker, coach, and serial entrepreneur who helps people transform their identity and rewire their subconscious mind to take massive action towards their goals. She challenges entrepreneurs and business professionals to step outside of their comfort zone, to dream big, which we all need to do more of, I believe, and to become the best versions of themselves mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. She is also a sought-after guest on podcasts with over 50 episodes that she has guested on, and we are so thrilled that we are chatting with her today. Lucie, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Excited and grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me today, Carl.
I'm so glad you're here. How many lives are we going to transform today?
As many as possible. Let's do this.
You didn't give me a number. That's a good thing because that leaves it open to helping as many people as we can. So firstly, congratulations on that over 50 podcast guesting opportunities that you've had and the lives that you've changed in the process. Big congratulations to that. What led you to the podcasting space?
I wanted to figure out how I could serve on a bigger platform, how I could positively impact more people. How can I get on more stages faster and expand that reach? And podcasting just seemed to be the logical next step. You can speak in front of a chamber of commerce or in front of different, HRs for different companies. But there's nothing these podcasts that have been broadcasted from Tokyo, from Australia, from the UK. So you're just playing on a global scale, essentially.
I like how you alluded to the fact that a podcast is a stage. I've been advocating this for, I want to say eons, but it hasn't been quite that long, but for quite some time to really move speakers and even entrepreneurs forward in their thinking that a podcast is a speaking opportunity, much like being on a stage. It's a little bit more convenient because you don't have to leave your office or house. You don't have to travel. There's no lost luggage. There's none of those things. I love the physical stage, and I know you do too, but it certainly is a great opportunity to help and reach more people. So congratulations and kudos to that. You help people transform to move from where they are to where they want to be. And we don't mean as a travel agent, but we mean in many, many different ways. So tell us about the things that you do professionally.
Yeah. So a little bit of background is that I grew up in the city. I was a little girl with a big dream. And just like Napoleon Hill says, the starting point for all achievement is a burning desire. And I can say with absolute clarity that from before I can remember, I was obsessed with horses. So naturally, I would beg my dad day in and day out, Dad, please buy me a horse. But as fate would have it, my parents were blue collar workers. My mom had 2 factory jobs. Horses were just out of the realm of possibilities. So long story short, I ended up, by the time I was 16, I made a Craigslist ad saying, I'll ride your horse for free. I had all these yahoos calling me with their unbroke, green-broke horses. I had absolutely no training or formal riding education. So I'm driving out to all these farms. Next thing you know, I'm getting bucked off these horses. And it was definitely a failing forward process where you live and you learn. And just like some of the best brilliant business minds will say, they're not where they are today because of sheer luck. It's because they failed more times than most. And I'm not where I am today. I'm not the rider I am today because I got lucky. It's because I took the risk and I failed. And even though I got thrown off the horse over and over again, I still gave it another try and just stayed laser focused on the goal. So I ended up quitting my corporate job to pursue my passion of horses full time, which everybody thought was crazy. My parents again are old school. So they're like, you're going to give up this comfy, cozy corporate job that people have worked their entire lives with full benefits, paid vacation to sell horses. And I'm like, Dad, I have to. I don't know if any of your listeners have ever just, felt like they're meant for more. They're living this like comfortable kind of like mediocre life, waking up every single day, snoozing the alarm, fighting rush hour traffic, and going to a job that is just not it. You're just not satisfied. It's not your passion. And so I took a leap of faith, a chance on myself, and I quit my corporate job. And essentially, I was able to build and scale a 7-figure business where I now buy, train, and sell horses all over the country. And I opened up one of Michigan's largest public trail riding companies just because I wanted to share my passion with the world. And what I discovered along this path, and I'm not saying all of this to say, oh, hey, look at me. I'm sharing this with you because if I can do it, that means that you can do it as well. And along the path, I have just been studying all sorts of material along the lines of quantum physics. And now I'm obsessed with teaching people how to leverage the laws of the universe to very intentionally create the life of your dreams. And that is by way of reprogramming your subconscious mind, because our outer world is the perfect reflection of our inner world, and all change begins with us. So that's really the message that I teach, preach, and want to share with the world. And that's how I became inspired to really get on all of these podcasts. And just here I am trying to positively impact as many people around the world as possible.
And that, folks, is Lucie's TED Talk. There you have it right there. I'm just kidding, but that tells a story unto itself. It tells the journey of I wanted to do this. I had to convince dad and mom first that I wanted this thing. I get this thing. I fail. By the way, full disclosure, my parents still don't know what I do. I try and explain it to them and they're like, we don't know what you do. Are you okay? Do you need money, son? It's like, but it's true. It's true. We don't know outside of what our comfort zone is usually, and we can only see so far ahead. And I'm glad that you're doing the work that you're doing, because more people, I believe, need to start not just dreaming and leaving it at a dream, but they need to start dreaming big and moving their lives forward closer to their dreams. And I've had the opportunity to do some training with John Assaraf. He does a lot of brain retraining,
I
neuroplasticity,
love him. I love
it's in
him.
line with the work that you're doing too, right? Because
Yes.
it's all about, I mean, it's not just the neuroplasticity piece, but it's all about again, we're simplifying this here, but if you can dream it, you can have it. It's just what are the steps, or what are the things that you need to do? What's the clutter you need to clear in your head? And what are the old habits you need to get to? All of those things. So the fact that you're doing this is phenomenal. And the reason why we're having this conversation today is because, and by the way, congratulations on your journey, firstly. And for bringing this messaging to us, but it's because there are so many people that come into the business world or the podcasting world, and they have the best of intentions or the dreams there, and then something happens and it derails, whatever that is. It could be they don't get the numbers they expect, they have a bad guest that joins them, or it seems too difficult, it seems like it's too complicated, too hard, so they just don't do. And you're here to change that in people in many ways.
Yes. Inspired action.
I love it.
That is where the magic lies. And it's really, again, just like you said, stepping outside of your comfort zone and building that belief. I like to say that belief is what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be, because you can know with absolute clarity, you can have a vision written out, you can be reading it. However, if you don't believe that you're worthy, that you're capable, that you're enough, then there's always going to be a vibrational discrepancy between where you're at and where you want to be, what you have, and the thing that you most long for. So when we're able to really build the belief in ourselves, then that has to do with shifting our paradigm, shifting our belief system. And then once we change the inner world, that's when we start to see the outer world reflect that change.
I love it. Why is it, though, that so many of us feel like we're stuck and we're just never going to get there? What is it what's the crux of it?
I like to say that if people are feeling stuck, it's because they're stuck in a story. And what
Oh.
I mean by that is that we are all programmed. We all have unconscious programs that run our life, and we all get
Mhm.
stuck in these patterns. So, if we take a step back and really analyze our lives, we'll start to see that our life is made up of nothing more than a sequence of different patterns and behaviors on repeat. We are by nature creatures of habit, and we like do the same thing in the morning, in the afternoon, and the night. And then what happens is naturally we'll fall into patterns of focus, and what we focus on is what we feel. So a lot of us, we get jaded, whether we're conditioned by maybe our past, our childhood, our parents' beliefs, any sort of traumas that we've lived through. And so these patterns will show up in shaping the way our perspective, the way we see things, what we choose to focus on. Are we seeing the beauty and abundance that surrounds us, or are we constantly looking for what's wrong? And so, pattern of focus is one. Then we have patterns of physiology, how we're moving our body. Our minds and our body are intimately connected. I mean, all we have to do is close our eyes and imagine biting into a lemon, and our mouth will immediately begin to salivate. And so, the same thing, we can choose to operate in high vibrational emotions like love and excitement and bliss and joy and gratitude, or we can choose unintentionally to operate in feelings of grief, of overwhelm, of frustration, of guilt. And anytime we're operating in fear, lack, or scarcity, we are not going to be making the same decisions we would as if we were operating in a peak emotional state. So, if we notice that we're operating in a lower vibrational state, the quickest, fastest, easiest thing we can do to elevate our vibration, to raise our vibe, to lift our mood is our body. Move your body, get up, walk outside in nature. Maybe put some music on, start dancing, phone a friend, just move. And then the third thing is the patterns of language, because language is really what shapes our perception of the world. And so many people will use, and people don't understand that when we talk about we live in a vibrational universe, we live in an attraction-based universe. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And then it's like, if we know that everything's made of energy, then we have to take into consideration that our thoughts are powerful and our words are powerful. And so then once you truly understand and embrace that, then you'll start to pay attention to the thoughts that you're thinking and the
Mhm.
words that you're using, the language that you're engaging in. And it's not only just about the people that you're surrounding yourself with, but it's also that internal dialogue. What's that little voice in your head doing? Is it tearing you down and telling you're not good enough? Or is it celebrating you and all of your victories? So I think once you understand a lot of that, then you start to understand why it is people feel stuck. It's really unpacking all of the unconscious patterns and then interrupting them and replacing them with something that's going to serve them at a higher level.
And this happens overnight, right?
Instantly, just like in the blink of an
It's just
eye.
there's a magic wand that you send clients that is $11 billion. They just wave it a couple of times and everything falls into place, right? Yeah, no, I'm kidding, of course. But I'm glad how you mentioned the language piece because I didn't realize how strong and how influential language is until I'll say his name again. Maybe I'll get a royalty for mentioning his name on my podcast. I don't know, but or maybe he'll want to be on my podcast. Who knows? But I remember doing brain retraining with John Assaraf and him saying something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing because it was a fairly lengthy program, but I remember him saying something like, instead of saying, for example, because a lot of people use this language in everyday speak, instead of saying, oh, I'm so broke, is there too much month left at the end of the money?
Yeah.
Instead of saying I'm broke, even if that's the reality, if I can use that word just to paint the picture here, instead of saying that, flip the script and say, I have everything I need, or I'm living in abundance, or whatever the terminology is. I'm just a little short on cash right now. And it's
Yeah.
amazing how, and money is energy too, right? And we're not going to do a deep dive into that, but it's amazing how flipping the script or using certain words that you wouldn't even think to flip the script on. But that's one that's stuck in my head. The other one, and I'm getting good at training my spouse to play the game with me because it's not a game, it's life, right? But to really follow my pattern with this, when I'll say, instead of saying the word if, say the word when, especially when we're thinking about if we ever go on vacation in Mexico, or if we ever do this, or if we,
Yeah.
no, it's not if, it's when. If it's that strong a desire, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And even those, that's a simple word, but how often do we use the word if? Instead,
Yeah.
it's if this happens, or if this lines up, then everything else will fall into place. So we're in this world of ifs. We're in this world of um, being in the place where we don't want to be. How hard is it, though, to unbundle our old habits and old patterns? How difficult is it?
It's a process, and it all starts with awareness, because all change is preceded by awareness, and we can't change what we're unaware of. So, in that is why I am such a huge proponent of meditation, because the definition of meditation means to become aware of oneself. And meditation, what it does is it allows you to quiet your mind and release all resistance. And when we talk about resistance, it is quieting that voice in your head that's constantly tearing you down or telling you that you're not good enough, or reminding you of all of the difficulties, all of the struggles, all of the things that are on your to-do list that you don't feel like doing, you don't desire to do. And really letting all of that go. It's letting go of all of the worry, all of the fear, the guilt, the stress, the overwhelm, the overthinking, and really just allowing your cork to rise, if you will.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like if you take a cork and you hold it underwater and then you let go of it, you release it, it's going to immediately begin to raise.
Right.
So just like our vibration. And so all it is quieting your mind, focusing on your breath, and in that focused breathing, and there's a bunch of different meditations. I like to encourage people. It's kind of like a smorgasbord. If you go to a buffet, you want to try a little bit of everything, right? Same thing with meditations. There's mantra meditations, there's guided, there's abundance meditations, there's breathing meditations, there's walking there's all sorts of different meditations. You got to try a little bit of everything, find out what your flavor is, find out what best suits you and how you feel afterwards as the day unfolds. And then, but the key is really to, like, to say, like, you focus on your breathing, and eventually a thought or an idea is going to creep its way in. And that's what I hear a lot of people say they struggle with. They're like, well, I just can't stop thinking. I can't turn my mind off. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, perfect. That means that you're doing it right. Because what happens is that thought is going to creep in, and then the acknowledgement of that thought, and then lovingly releasing it, and then coming back to your breath. And then whether it's 5, 10, 15 seconds later, guess what? Another thought is going to pop in. We're not dead. And then again, the power is in acknowledging that that thought has came into your mind, instead of falling down like the rabbit hole of like, oh, I got to pick the kids up, and then I got to go to the grocery store, and oh, what am I going to cook? Oh, and I forgot to go to the mailbox or the post office. And even if you fall down that rabbit hole, be like, oh, wait, I'm thinking again. And in that, what it does is it gives you the power of awareness, allowing you to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And
Mm.
then once you figure out that you're not your thoughts and that you can control them, then you start to see that you can pick and choose which thoughts you would like to think at any given moment. Then you start to realize that you can pick and choose your words. You can also pick and choose your emotions. And I know this is crazy because a lot of people are like, he lied to me, or he did me wrong, or he stole from me. I have every right to be upset, to be furious, to be hurt, to be sad. And people will step into the victim mode to validate their lower vibrational feelings. And instead of that, if we're able to shift our focus, shift our perspective, and start to see things from a different angle, just like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, once we begin to change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And that's when miracles start to happen, because instead of living inside of this victim mentality, we start to step into our power, embracing radical responsibility, and truly accepting the idea that we are the powerful, magnificent creators of our own reality. And just like you said, if our mind can conceive an idea and believe it, it can absolutely achieve it.
I love this. We could talk all day about this, but I certainly want to, bring it back to, you've shared so much valuable information here, and I want to bring it back to the importance of what you're sharing, and why for podcasters or speakers or people who, are even entrepreneurs who are either podcasters or speakers, find themselves stuck, and how do they get unstuck? Firstly, how do we step outside of our comfort zone? That's a, I don't want to say it's easy, but that's one that we always, I mean, I was always taught, not always, but in my business journey, I was always taught, um, get comfortable being uncomfortable. But is
Yeah.
there a process to, I mean, we talked about meditation, but are there other baby steps that we should be taking to stepping outside of our comfort zone to get closer to that dream, that target?
Yeah. So there's quite a few things. I think the first thing is really identifying what you're afraid of. That's the first thing. And usually, what we're most afraid of is probably what we should run towards. And I know that sounds ridiculous and terrifying, but growth doesn't happen inside of our comfort zones. Never has,
Mm,
never will. Dr. Wayne Dyer says that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And the spirit is meant to grow, it's meant to expand and evolve. We're not meant to be living the same monotonous lives day in and day out, feeling unfulfilled and full of fear. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to become aware of the limiting beliefs that we carry and list out all of our fears. And so then it's like once we list them out, then we have to ask ourselves, is that really true? And sometimes people be like, well, yeah, kind of, but is it really true?
yeah.
And so then once you can bring truth to those limiting beliefs or those
Hmm.
fears, then again, it's that awareness. And really, for anybody who's struggling, they feel like they can't, there's a lot of different things that they can do. Like I said, identifying those fears, but then it's all about surrounding yourself, putting yourself in environments in close proximity with the people who are where you want to be, the people who are doing the
Hmm.
things that you want, because we are the five people who we hang out with the most.
Right.
And so if we want a better life, your network is your net worth, as you know.
Mm.
If we invest the time not only in surrounding ourselves with the people we want to be with, but getting a coach or a mentor. And we're talking about somebody who's 10 steps ahead of us, who's been there, done that. And that's really how you're going to collapse timelines, because then even when you're afraid of what, you're afraid of the unknown, you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of what could go wrong, you're afraid of what other people will think. If you have that coach or that mentor that's been there, done that, and they can kind of like hold your hand through the fire and let you
Mhm.
know that you're okay, that you're on the right path, that you're doing exactly what you need to be. And if there is a difficulty or an obstacle that presents itself, you have that leg up with that person who has the experience. So those are a couple of the things that I would encourage people to look into, as well as obviously gratitude. Because if you don't have a gratitude practice that you're doing every single day, the gratitude practice is really what shifts your focus and allows you to see the good, see the beauty, the blessings, the abundance, the miracles in everyday life.
I love it. And I think it's so easy to get hung up to, and these are great, especially the gratitude piece. But I think it's so easy for us to beat ourselves up. We get stuck on failure because we've been taught from a very young age that failure is a bad thing. If you get a bad grade in school, I mean, I can remember, if you got a D or an E or an F or whatever, you had a bad mark. It wasn't good, and not good is bad, right? So we're
Yeah.
taught that failure is bad. We're not taught that failure is a positive step towards growth. And by the way, if you've noticed in the conversation I've been having with Lucie, how many times has Lucie flipped the script or given the example of, Dr. Wayne Dyer says this, and she's flipping the script. So it is possible for you to flip the script. If you're a podcaster, if you're a speaker and you're hearing this today, or even if you want to be a podcaster, there are people who are listening to the show that would love to step in the podcast arena that are fearful, afraid of failure, not sure what they're doing. This is an opportunity to take some of Lucie's teachings, what she's sharing today, and say, yeah, you know what? I can do this, because it's so easy, Lucie, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. It's so easy when we're in that or taking the step forward into the growth space to do the blame game, to say, well, I can't do this because my parents did this, or my teacher did this, or la 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 la. I'm not good enough. The imposter syndrome. It's too easy to play the blame game.
So easy. I like to say that we're either living from a memory of the past or a vision of the future. And we can choose what we want our life to look like.
You see how
And
Lucy just flipped the script right there, by the way? You see how she did that? Thank you. I had to stop you right there just because you did it. That's a solid example of what I was talking about. Do keep going.
I think that I really do believe that inspired action is where the magic happens. And that's why, again, I'm going to just like briefly reference meditation again, is because if we talk about like if praying is speaking to God, meditating is listening to God and getting those divine downloads and getting those like intuitive nudges to go to the grocery store and like you're like, oh, I think I'm craving watermelon or whatever it could be. And so then you go to the store and then they're out of watermelon. You're like, I really want one. I'm going to go to the other expensive market because nothing's going to stop my watermelon craving. So then you go to the expensive market to look for the watermelon. And then sure enough, you're in line checking out with the watermelon in hand. And the person in front of you is like, who knows? Maybe he's got his own podcast show with 100,000 listeners. And he's like, oh my God, I was just thinking that I wanted some water. And then you have this wonderful conversation about watermelon. You guys, and he's like, wow, you have beautiful energy. I love your vibe. I would love to have you on my guest. Then it's all, the coincidence. And it's like, there's no such thing as coincidences. Coincidence comes, it's a mathematical term that comes from geometry when you have two coinciding angles. And what is it when you have two coinciding angles? That means that they fit perfectly together. So again, no such thing as coincidences. But when we talk about those divine downloads and taking inspired action, when you're afraid of something, let's say you've always wanted to start your podcast or you've always wanted to guest on a podcast, the space has always interested you and intrigued you, but you don't know where to start or what to do. The main goal is to just do it afraid, do it scared, do it anyways, believe in yourself, take the leap of faith. And if you have friends who are doing it in the space, excellent. If you don't, you can always find a mentor. But really, it's again, being in that receiving mode, if you will, to take inspired action. And all of a sudden, you do something that doesn't really seem like it has anything to do with the one thing, but then you're in the right place at the right time, surrounded by the right people, and doors of large opportunity begin to open before you. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm manifesting miracle after miracle after miracle, because all you have to do is launch a rocket of desire and say, this is what I want. And then release all of the resistance, let go of those limiting beliefs and those fears that surround it. And then once you do that, you'll feel more empowered, more inspired to take massive action that's going to bring you closer towards your goals, towards your vision. It's usually our belief system, our paradigm is what's getting in the way of that. And so it's really rewiring your subconscious mind to figure out, okay, like, how can I train myself to take action when I'm afraid anyways?
Launch the rocket ship of desire. I love it. Can I coin that, or have you already coined it?
I believe Abraham Hicks did.
Oh, darn. Okay. All right. So I have to think up my own expression then, but Lucie Ptasznik, this has been an amazing conversation. I know you have some more resources that you want to share with people. So say what you've got.
Yeah. So we have a 16-week program. It helps people transform their identity, intentionally rewire their subconscious mind, so that way they can start taking massive action towards their goals. And what we've done is we've condensed this into a 2-hour training that's broken up into a digestible 6-part series. So normally this retails on our website for $1,000. However, we have a special promo code for you and your listeners. The website is ultimatesuccessblueprint.com. And the promo code is podcast solutions. And you're able to download that at absolutely no cost, totally for free. And it's full of different strategies and techniques on essentially how to get from where you're at to where you want to be as quickly and effortlessly as possible.
And we'll make sure that that link is in the show notes. Wow, what an amazing opportunity for people to, even if it moves the needle forward a little bit, and then there's a need to have another follow-up call or dive into some of your other services that you have. That's a phenomenal offer. So thank you so much for passing that along. We'll make sure that link is in the show notes, as well as all of the ways you can connect with Lucie, including her website. This has been amazing, Lucie. I'm hoping you've had as much fun as I have.
Oh my God, I had so much fun. Your energy is amazing. It's absolutely contagious. I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on today.
So it's good energy then? It's good energy?
Oh, top notch, top notch.
Just
The
checking
best.
in with this, a good source. I can't just call John Asraf on the phone yet. That's 3 times I've used his name. Come on, John. Maybe he's going to be on the show. Who knows? When he's on the show, how about that? But before I let you go, Lucie Ptasznik, I'll give you the final thought.
I think the final thought of the day is really just taking radical responsibility for your thoughts, your words, your emotions, your reactions, and really understanding that you're the powerful, magnificent creator of your own reality. So if you want something, guys, don't let fear stand in the way and know that you are capable, you are worthy, and you absolutely deserve what it is that you desire.
I love it. I love it. Let's leave it right there. Lucie Ptasznik, thank you so much for being my guest today.
And thank you for joining us today. Special thanks to our producer and production lead, Dom Carrillo, our music guru, Nathan Simon, and the person who works the arms, all of our arms actually, my trusty assistant, Stephanie Gafour. If you like what you heard today, leave us a comment and a review, and be sure to share it with your friends. If you don't like what you heard, please share it with your enemies. Oh, and if you have a suggestion of someone who you think would make an amazing guest on the show, let us know about it. Drop us an email, askcarl@carlspeaks.ca. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. You'll find all those links in the show notes. And if you're ready to take the plunge and join the over 3 million people who have said yes to podcasting, let's have a conversation. We'll show you the simplest way to get into the podcasting space because after all, we're Podcast Solutions Made Simple. We'll catch you next time.